The U.S. has announced charges against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange just hours after he was taken into custody in London. Assange was dragged from the Ecuadorian embassy where he's been for the last 7 years. His arrest came after Ecuador dropped his asylum status, essentially evicting him from the embassy.
The U.S. has requested Assange be extradited, and British authorities have confirmed he was placed under arrest on behalf of U.S. law enforcement. Now, there are also multiple reports that Assange was actually found guilty by a U.K. judge of skipping bail. He faces a maximum sentence of 12 months in prison on that charge. Ellen Nakashima joins us now. She's a national security reporter for The Washington Post. Ellen, thank you so much for joining us. So let's get into what Assange is facing. He's accused of conspiring with former NSA contractor. Well, actually, Chelsea Manning wasn't an NSA contractor. Chelsea Manning was an Army.
She was in the Army. She was in the Army.
Part of the military, right? Chelsea Manning conspiring with her to publish secret military documents. What more do we know about what exactly Assange is accused of doing?
He's charged with one count of conspiring to commit computer intrusion, or that is to help Chelsea Manning attempt to crack a password to allow her to get into a classified DoD network under a different identity or name, so as to hide her tracks and attempt to get access to these classified documents, hiding her true identity.
So, all right,
so there's no evidence that it was successful, however. There's no evidence in the indictment to suggest that Assange was successful in cracking that password. In fact, I think he wasn't.
So the documents that Chelsea Manning managed to take are we saying, are authorities basically saying that Chelsea Manning got those sort of on her own, but then there were additional documents that perhaps Julian Assange was attempting to get as well?
Yes, the indictment says that prior to Assange trying to help crack the password, Manning had already passed over hundreds of thousands of documents to Assange, even without having cracked the password.
So what I find really interesting, Ellen, is the discussion that we were having earlier with Michael Morell, who's a former deputy director of the CIA, which is how WikiLeaks got its hands on all this information. Was it provided to them via the Russians? And if it was provided to them via the Russians, was it the Russian intelligence operatives that were giving them this information? That's the first question. And then the argument that they've always made, which is that they are journalists, that they're doing journalism, whereas Michael Morell says, no, this doesn't appear to be journalism. This is acting as a foreign entity, a foreign agent.
But I think it's important to clarify, too, when we talk about Russians, we're not talking about Chelsea Manning. We're talking about the accusations that have to do with meddling in the 2016 election.
Right.
Yeah, so the charge against Julian Assange at this point has nothing to do with the 2016 election or Russian interference or WikiLeaks dump of hacked DNC emails. It is only in relation to the 2010 release of DoD classified materials and State Department cables. So that happened years ago, right? 6 years before the 2016 election. What I think Michael Morell is referring to in the case of the 2016 election, and then even beyond that, WikiLeaks put out hacked or stolen hacking tools from the CIA, put them up online, and that was also a breach of classified information, which led then CIA Director Pompeo to call WikiLeaks a hostile intelligence or foreign intelligence agency or service, seeming to try to draw a connection or a distinction between an organization like WikiLeaks and a journalistic organization like the New York Times or the Washington Post.
It's really interesting.
It really is. I presume that will be part of the defense should he arrive here. So if he's extradited, do we have any idea sort of how long that could take and what he'll face once he gets here?
Oh, that could take, the process is often lengthy, could take months, sometimes years, and Assange's lawyers are expected to mount a very vigorous fight against his extradition. There already lawyers are saying, look, I'm making the case that WikiLeaks is a journalistic organization, and to attempt to prosecute him sets a bad precedent for freedom of the press. Mm-hmm. So you can already sort of see for the arguments they're going to start to make. They want to turn that into a political argument internationally. And so the Justice Department is being very careful to try to avoid charges that can be seen as politically motivated, such as charging him with violation of the Espionage Act. We don't see any such charge here. Mm. We see is this charge that's more related to computer hacking, which is one way they hope to avoid the entanglement with the First Amendment issue.
You know, Ellen, when the Justice Department began investigating WikiLeaks and Assange, it was under the Obama administration. It was Eric Holder. It was a different administration. We've all been watching the new Attorney General testify before Congress over the past couple of days. Clearly, this is a different type of Attorney General and a different administration. You know, how do you think Julian Assange will fare, or does any of that even matter?
Yeah, look, I do think under this administration and this Justice Department, I think they're being more aggressive or forward-leaning in exploring or probing the area that you know, there's a difference between, say, WikiLeaks and a traditional journalistic organization. Look, under the previous administration, the Obama administration, they brought more leak prosecutions than in all prior administrations combined. So they were also no slouches when it came to leaks. But this administration is also, I think, showing more willingness to even try to take on prosecution of Assange, even if they may run into challenges with the First Amendment.
All right, really fascinating details there. Ellen Nakashima at the Washington Post, thanks for your reporting. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are back with a Fox News alert. Julian Assange is arrested in London this morning. The WikiLeaks founder taken into custody at the Ecuadorian embassy. You can see him being escorted out there. It was just announced as it has withdrawn Assange's citizenship as well.
Mr. Assange's attorney in the U.S. issuing a statement calling his arrest a, quote, unprecedented effort by the United States seeking to extradite a foreign journalist to face criminal charges for publishing truthful information.
Wow. Another lawyer tweeting this. Quote from Assange. The U.S. warrant was issued in December 2017 and is for conspiracy with Chelsea Manning in early 2010.
Chelsea Manning leaked a trove of classified materials to WikiLeaks and is currently in jail for refusing grand jury testimony.
We don't know what Assange is officially charged with yet. He is currently at the courthouse in London. We should know shortly.
Right. Yeah, look at him there, a mess. The Justice Department is aware of the arrest. We don't know everything yet, but let's bring in Newt Gingrich to get his take. Hey, Newt, is this guy a hero or is he a villain?
Well, I think if you believe in national security, if you believe in the safety of the United States, he's a villain. I think it's a very good thing that the United States government is communicating that it may take a while to get to you. But if you violate our secrets, if you endanger our national security, if you put the country at risk, we're going to come after you till we get you. And I think that's exactly the right approach. Nobody has the right to leak secrets that could endanger lives and, in fact, could endanger the whole country.
Yeah, the president actually pardoned, mysteriously, Chelsea Manning for doing that and so reportedly giving it to WikiLeaks. I wonder if that plays a role in his court case.
Well, it may. I have no idea how his lawyers will try to play this out. But I think that if you go back and you look at how much damage was done by all of these leaks, how many people who had cooperated with us were suddenly exposed, how many of our allies were offended. This is not a game. This is not somebody's right to go off on their own. At the heart of civilization has to be a set of rules and some kind of accountability.
Well, he's going to be appearing in court shortly in London, and once we get word of what is said there, we will share it here on the channel. Meanwhile, Newt, it sounds like...
Let me just say, by the way, let me just point out, the difference between a law-abiding nation like the United States and a dictatorship like Russia, Putin has been sending people out to poison people. We're extraditing into a courtroom. There's a huge difference, and we ought to constantly remind people the difference between dictatorships and the rule of law.
And let me just bring it to this quote. Russia is accusing the British at this hour of strangling freedom.
Well, look, I think you have to assume with both the Russians and the Chinese that they'll say anything they want to say with no relationship to truth, and you just shrug it off. I mean, in the Russian case, and I have a new novel coming out called Collusion, in which the Russians try to poison the U.S. Senate. I mean, the Russian tradition of killing people with poison and with other devices is real, it's current, it happens now. Yeah. So when they complain about something like this, you just have to relax and realize the total hypocrisy of their system.
So barbaric. We're so grateful to live in this great country. We're getting word that there are a lot of people that want to come into the country, many more. There's a new caravan that is starting down in Honduras, and they're heading to Guatemala. There are 1,100 migrants. They're going to be coming on 2 different buses at 2 different crossing points down there, and we're being told that they want to come here to America. Your thoughts?
Look, the Gallup World Poll last year asked how many people would like to move to the U.S., and I think the number was 165 million worldwide. Those Democrats who are for open borders are, I think, insane. And between bad judges who abuse their power and the Congress's unwillingness to fix the law, the word has gone out all across Central America, hey, you may get there. The Americans are dumb enough that if you get there, you might be able to stay. So why not? I mean, I think if you had a shot, if you were living in a poverty-ridden country, you were surrounded by drug cartels, you had a very limited future, you watch TV and you see America, you say, why not take the risk?
Sure.
The truth is, President Trump is 100% correct that we need an effective wall. We need to change the laws. We need to recognize how much judges have collectively screwed this up by establishing rules that are impossible. And we need to have a system that protects the United States.
And we need Mexico to help us. All right, Newt, thank you very much for joining us from Palm Beach Gardens down in Florida.